And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder, our second attempt for the evening. This is the National Championship celebratory episode.
Yeah, recap of the title game.
Yes. So Georgia defeated Bama in the national title game 33-18, but a lot of storylines in this game.
A lot of storylines. If you watch our last episode, I didn't really know who was going to win this game. I didn't make a prediction because I knew Georgia could win it. I also knew Alabama could win it. Alabama could win either in a blowout fashion like they did the last two times these teams have met. Alabama could also win in heartbreaking fashion for Georgia fans like they did the previous three times these teams have met. So really it could have went either way, a number of different ways really. But Georgia came out on top. It was a very sloppy game. Boring game in the first half. If you like defense, it was a defensive game, so you're probably excited first half. Mm-hmm. Second half, Georgia really took control, both lines of scrimmage, asserted their will on those lines of scrimmage. They would basically asserting the will on the defensive line of scrimmage the entire game. But offense came to play mainly in the fourth quarter. But second half, Georgia played really, really well. Alabama, I guess we're getting right into it, but Alabama really couldn't get much going on offense. Williams went down with an ACL injury, I think, in the second quarter.
Right.
Had caught a 40-yard pass and went down, and you could see it right on the play. Didn't have to wait for the replay. You could see in real time he went down in pain, grabbing his knee, and you could tell in that kind of situation when nobody touched him. He went down before the DB, kind of wrapped him up. You could tell he was done. Those non-contact injuries, if you've been watching football long enough, you know they're all ACL related, so you kind of knew he was out. And it did change the game, but I still think Georgia's defense was ready to go.
Would have held them.
They had told Michigan that Georgia was out of shape during the SEC championship game, and if you watch Kirby's post-game press conference or post-game on-field interview, that really pissed off a lot of the Georgia players. They came to play in this game.
They did.
No pressure on Bryce Young in the first meeting. They had that dude running for his life in this game. And I give as much credit as I give to Georgia's defense, as much credit I give to all of Georgia's team and program. Bryce Young's a dude. They beat that kid senseless during this game. I mean, all the passes he threw, complete or incomplete, they were nailing that poor kid after he threw the football.
He took a beating.
He took a huge beating. And these weren't, the refs were letting them play, but these were not late hits. Mm-hmm. These were in the, legality of the play. I mean, he was getting drilled. And this kid was like, whatever, dude, I'm just going to stand in here, going to take the hit and make the throw.
Well, the numbers dictate that. I mean, 35 of 57, 369 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions.
Mm-hmm. Both interceptions were poorly thrown balls, although I think the first one, he was going to Billingsley, and Billingsley kind of got held up. Maybe it wasn't Billingsley. Billingsley made a lot of bad plays in the first half of the game, so I could be mistaken on who the wideout was, but that first pick was widely overthrown. Second pick was widely underthrown, grossly underthrown, but he still had a really good game. Yeah. None of this was on him. Alabama's offensive line could not run block. They had one decent run play, which was a 16-yard run by Robinson. Mm-hmm. Everything else, Georgia's defense was hitting him at the line of scrimmage for little to no gain or loss of yards. The secondary for Georgia played extremely well, including William Poole, who had the difficult task of covering. Was that kid Bolden, number 18? I think it was Bolden.
In the slot.
In the slot, and he did a really good job of covering him. Especially in the second half. But on the flip side, Alabama's defense was just as dominating. Georgia couldn't get anything going offensively. They couldn't block anybody up front. When it came to the running game, it was either a short gain or no gain for the running backs. Stetson Bennett was running for his life in the first half and was playing horrible in the first half of the football game. Right. They couldn't block Will Anderson. They could definitely not block Dallas Turner. And they couldn't block Christian Harris in that first half of the game. Even in the second half of the game, they still couldn't block Christian Harris. And that dude was making plays left and right. Dallas Turner, he's just a freshman. He's making plays left and right. But the run game for Georgia started to get going in that late second quarter. Kind of took over in the third and fourth quarter. So got to give both teams credit. They both played a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Another game for the ages for Bama versus Georgia. So I had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got basically the difference in the game was the third and fourth quarter. Georgia was making a few more big plays than Bama was. We were in the third, towards the end of the third quarter. If we had a touchdown scored.
Yeah, I mean, the yards per carry for Georgia, I think, was like 2.8, 2.9. If you take away that 67-yard run by James Cook, that kind of broke things open. That was the first drive. Georgia scored a touchdown after that really long run by James Cook. And then you saw Zamir White start to get going, especially on those last two drives that led to touchdowns for Georgia. The one to Mitchell and the one to Brock Bowers. He started kind of get going. 7, 8, 9 yard, 10 yards per carry. Yeah. And Alabama really didn't. They sacked Bennett, and then he just went, on 2nd and 18, he was like, screw this. He just went deep on a free play, which was because it was offsides for Alabama. Threw a 40-yard touchdown pass to A.D. Mitchell. I mean, as much as I think Stetson Bennett is a bad QB, I got to give that guy credit. He just got hammered he just fumbled, costing his team the lead. Then he gets hammered for an 18-yard loss, and then he says, screw it, and just throws a bomb, and it's complete for a touchdown. Georgia takes the lead. He was 3 for 3 on that drive. One was kind of lucky catch by Kenny McIntosh that he probably shouldn't have thrown.
Yeah.
Then the final drive, threw the touchdown pass to Brock Bowers. I think that it was 3rd and 1. I believe that was a first down, and they never stopped to measure, and he just snapped the football. The same play they scored again on Michigan, that first touchdown to Brock Bowers, was basically the same play, throws out to him. He beats Henry To'oTo'o to the corner. No one's catching that guy in the end zone. So second half, I thought Monken called a very good game second half. That first half, Alabama's defense was firing. They had no time for gimmick plays, and he kept calling gimmick plays. And other than the long pass to Pickens, those gimmick plays were resulting in catastrophic losses for Georgia. And then I guess maybe he got an earful from Kirby. Second halftime was like, stop doing those stupid plays.
It's just weird how the game really kind of shook out. Being in the first half of the game, and by the time we get the second half, it was just, offenses were moving the ball, things were starting to happen, but the defense was making bigger plays in the second half, and the offense was making bigger plays as well. Like the Pickens catch into the first half. It's like, that's the last time you saw Pickens. He didn't do anything.
Made one catch.
Yeah.
He was a decoy for a good bit of the game. But he didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a heck of a play.
Yeah. I mean,
that was what the kind of diving catch an elite wide receiver makes.
Yeah. Playmakers make plays.
I mean, it was a weird game. It was like, if you're a defensive guy, it was 6-3 at the end of the first half. It was a defensive struggle. Georgia had sacked Bryce Young a bunch of times. Alabama's defense with Dallas Turner and Christian Harris sacked Stetson Bennett a couple times. I mean, it was a defensive struggle. It was kind of shaping up to be the game everybody wanted to see from a Georgia-Alabama, especially the fans of everybody but these two teams. Right. They wanted to see, nobody wanted a rematch, but they wanted to see a good game.
Yeah, and we got a good game. We got a great game.
Yeah, things kind of got a little weird in the second half. Yeah. Defenses was still there, but there was some more bigger plays offensively to be had.
Right. I mean, look at these numbers. Brock Bowers, 4 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown. Well, I mean, he really held in that touchdown. Was he really that big?
I think I don't think he caught a pass prior to the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And his longest play was the touchdown of 15 yards.
Yeah. And McConkey wasn't involved.
One catch for 3 yards. A.D. Mitchell, who caught the touchdown pass, only caught 2 passes for 50 yards. The touchdown was for 40. And then you look at Alabama. Bryce Young went for basically 370, 1 touchdown, 2 picks.
Yeah.
He threw, what is that tight end's name? Number 81, Latu. Caught 5 balls for 1 or 2. He had a 60-yard reception. They tackle him inside the 10. Well, Georgia's defense holds him to a field goal. Williams had that 40-yard touchdown. A 40-yard reception on the play he got hurt. I don't really recall what they did. I think they kicked a field goal on that drive. Hall, I can't pronounce his first name. 2 catches, 52 yards. Had the big one second quarter that Georgia's defensive lineman tracked him down and tackled him, or else that dude was going for a score. There was some big plays in the Alabama passing game, but Alabama could not do anything inside the 20. They had a 3rd and goal, and Channing Tindall spied Bryce Young and then ran out there and sacked him, and they ended up kicking a field goal. So Bryce Young had some success inside the 20s. When they got inside the red zone, Georgia's defense stepped up, and it wasn't for a blatant offensive pass interference. I don't care if you're an Alabama fan or not. You got to see that replay of Latu pushing down Chris Smith and then be like, oh, turn around for the touchdown. Good play by Bryce Young. Excellent play by Bryce Young, actually. That should have been a penalty, but I'm glad they didn't call it. I watched the interview with Joel Klatt. He said if it was the Pac-12, there would have been 15 penalty flags in the field on that. But, national championship game, let them play. That was 3rd and goal after Stetson Bennett's fumble. And Georgia's defense almost held them to a field goal. So that's basically the story of the game, in my opinion, was what Georgia's defense was able to do to that Alabama offense.
And credit Stetson Bennett for finally getting it done. 2
fumbles, 1 fumble lost.
Yeah, and there was a couple of fumbles there, and I don't know, like the fumble is he's running downfield and he fumbles
just
the ball,
comes out of his hands,
and it bounces right back in his hands.
Yep. That was Alabama luck of the last few times these teams have met. But that second fumble in the 4th quarter, which you just kind of saw the Alabama guy just kind of grab it like it was nonchalant, like he didn't even know it was a fumble. He was grabbing the football because
here's the way he's out of bounds.
Yeah, and like, hey, here's the football. I'm gonna grab it, get back to the ref. Like, oh, it's a fumble. So that dude makes a heads up play, and they end up scoring a touchdown. That was the play. I think every Georgia fan was like, Stetson Bennett again.
You're killing us.
Shit in the bed.
Yeah.
And then the dude just comes back and goes 3 for 3 on that drive with a 40-yard touchdown to A.D. Mitchell for the Dogs and retake the lead. So I got to give credit to Bennett. I liked seeing his emotion when the game was sealed, him crying. I mean, it's a huge deal. There was an Alabama fan on YouTube who's like, cry baby, cry baby. Obviously that guy's never competed in anything in his life because if you had, you would have kind of saw the relevance of that. Especially, how many years? 41 years since Georgia won a title. You can kind of get it, but it was good to see the emotion on these guys after knowing the victory was sealed.
I mean, and you got a starting quarterback who's a walk-on, who left the program, came back, took a scholarship from a 5-star athlete, and boom, national title.
Yeah, for all the people out there who were like, Kirby got the Justin Fields situation wrong. If Justin Fields does not leave, they don't have the very late scholarship to offer Bennett to come back. So I guess kind of Kirby won out on that one as well. So all those people who bitched at him for starting from over Fields, well, now he's got a title, and Fields never won a title.
Yeah.
Even in my opinion, with a better team, the 2 years he played at Ohio State, they were a better team than Georgia.
Well, I guess that's the episode.
Yeah, that was a great national championship game, the kind of championship game that 2021 deserved because it was a really, really good year. A lot of different teams in the mix. If you're just a casual fan, it was probably more fun than years prior. If you were a diehard fan like we are, it was definitely more fun than years prior. Good to see that new blood in the playoff. Definitely the championship game that we all wanted to see. So it was good season. I'm happy the way it shook out. It was good. Looking forward already to next season.
Yeah, and good showing yesterday in Athens with the celebration parade and everything else.
Yeah, a lot of those fans braved the cold. Good for them. And look, Alabama, right now, I'm going on record. They're winning the title next year. All those dudes come back. Bryce Young, sophomore. Will Anderson's only a sophomore. Dallas Turner's a freshman. All those freshmen who had to step in and make plays. 84. Number 7, Brooks, I think his name is. All those guys, they're just young dudes. I know they lost a lot of dudes to the portal. The kid right here from LaGrange, inside linebacker for Alabama, he hit the portal. But Alabama just completely
reloads.
They reloads, but all their top guys, you look at some of their top players, they were all freshmen, sophomore this year. Yeah. So they'll all be back. Alabama's winning it all next year. Yeah. Alabama versus Ohio State in the title game. Bryce Young makes up for this loss.
And who knows, Georgia might win the SEC next year.
SEC East and get beat real bad by Alabama in the title.
Maybe.
Whatever.
Who knows? So. Yeah, we're going to lose a lot of people on defense next season, but they're going to get paid eventually, right?
Yeah. I mean, hell, all these guys get paid. I think A&M just paid their kids like $30 million collectively in NIL. So, hey, a new era of college football, but it's going to be just as fun in my opinion. Right. So hopefully everybody enjoys as much as we do.
Absolutely. Well, this concludes this week's episode. We'll be back next week. We're going to discuss the transfer portal and everything that's going on, the chaotic situation there, maybe even throw a little coaching stuff.
A lot of talent in that portal right now. Yeah. Some guys just moved on to new homes yesterday. So we'll talk about that next week.
It'll sort itself out the next week or two. You guys have a good day. Enjoy 2022.
See you guys.
All right, bye.